Let's talk about the 2006 midterms. That was a time when you had been involved in the foundation. Obviously, it had been very successful, but you decided to not be reactive. You decided to be proactive, based on the stem cell issue. You said you're a one-note Johnny. You were going after the stem cell issue. I'm sure you had no idea to the degree that you would become major news in that election.
No.
With the episode with Rush Limbaugh that most people watching this will remember. You were the news item for a while, and your Katie Couric interview and your George Stephanopoulos interview. So you were a political junkie, you said, but I don't know if you anticipated becoming potential political roadkill at the time as well.
No, I didn't expect that it would get that personal. But in a way, it was fine. I mean, it really helped us, because what I really was able to do, and I talk about this a little bit in the book, was hijack the agenda. And you know, the last couple of weeks of a political campaign, these wranglers, they have exactly figured out where they want to go and what they want to talk about and how they want to do it. So then some wild card like me comes in and goes, no, we're going to talk about this. And then someone like Rush Limbaugh plays right into it by attacking me. And so now we're talking about that. So I don't really want to talk about that much, but I could use it as an entree to talk about stem cells. And so, you know, and it worked.
But did you regret being put out there like that? I mean, was there a moment in that election where you're like, what have I done? Why am I out here? What am I doing with my family?
There were some moments along the way where I was like, yeah, take the kick me sign off my back. But what, you know, what people didn't see perhaps as much, although it was out there, was tremendous groundswell of support that I felt and felt from within the community and from without. And I think people got the idea that this was an issue that had to do with our future and the possibilities of science, and people could see how it was politicized. And the irony for me was, because what I was annoyed about was the politicization of medical research, that in order to make that point that there was too much politics and I had to get involved politically.
Yeah.
But in doing that, again, I think I exposed a lot of, or the episode exposed just the crassness of the political aspect of wedge issues and using one thing to play one group against another.
Well, so stem cell research is a difficult issue. It's hard for people to fully grasp, and it's easily manipulated, as you talk about a lot in your book. It did become a wedge issue, and they play on emotions. That's what politicians can do, and they do it on both sides, obviously. And I think you're careful to talk about both sides of the issue in this book. You obviously have a strong point of view. Does it help to talk about stem cell research? Do you have enough time when you address American voters to actually get the complexity of this issue across? Or is it better that it's not in the forefront of their minds?
Well, I think that what you have to do, or what I felt compelled to do, was I'm certainly not an MBA, I'm not a PhD, I'm not a scientist. I only know what I've learned from the motivation of being part of the affected community. So, and so I'm upfront with that. But what I can do, and what I hope I did, was to have people take on the responsibility of informing themselves. And I was confident that in doing that they would express a belief that our scientific community needs to be supported, and that there was real promise behind this, and it would be a shame to forfeit that promise just for political expediency.
To your point in the book, I think you said that people who fall on one side, this may be who are against stem cell research, this may be a very high on their scale of things that they pay attention to, whereas people who are for stem cell research may fall a little bit lower on their priority list of things, and so you're oftentimes dealing with that emotion that comes.
Well, that's how wedge issue works. It's if you're anti-stem cell, it's probably way up there for you with, you know, presumably abortion, other issues that are conservative issues that you may feel very strongly about it, and that's certainly you know, the fact that you believe that or act on that is admirable and needs to be respected. But if you're pro stem cell, you know, there are probably a lot of, like 9 or 10 other issues, like you say, that are as important.
Right.
So if you're a politician, you need that. You know who you can motivate most easily.
Right.
You motivate the anti-stem cell forces more easily and use that to your advantage more easily. So you get a lot of politicians who privately will tell you that they're pro-stem cell, but publicly will not want to forfeit that part of their constituency.
So you're becoming a savvy politician in your own right now. You had to, in order to step across that threshold, you had to sort of let go of that whole idea of the likability index. You talk about the
Right.
Davy Brown index, which I knew nothing about until I read your book, which basically ranks famous people and their likability factor. And
Yeah, trust factor.
you were way up there.
I think it's got some of that.
When you start getting pummeled by Rush Limbaugh and start taking political positions that might alienate some people, you obviously had to leave that behind. How hard was that for you?
Well, to a certain extent, you're judged by the quality of your enemies, so I felt okay about that. But yeah, I mean, it was tricky. You know, I didn't think about it too much until after the fact of looking at it, saying, "Oh, I guess I took some risks there." But that's how you measure your level of conviction and what you believe in. I didn't think about it going in. I mean, I thought about it kind of after the fact. But you know, people that speak out are easy targets, and I suppose that's fine. You know, again, I didn't mention this in the book, but I remember, and I talk a little bit about our rabbi in the book. And around the time all this was happening, I talked to our rabbi, I had a conversation with him, and he started talking to me about David, and David going against Goliath, and all he had was this stone, and he said that stone was really the truth, and all you need, no matter what you're up against, and how David had kind of shed himself of everything except this stone. And he said, no matter what you're up against, you just need to get rid of everything except the truth, as you see it. And so the truth is subjective, and other people may have different ideas about what the truth, but given that that was my idea of it, I needed to just be pure about it and just go into battle with that. And so that's what I did.
How much of your life is just feel like that? How much of it is just instinct? I'm going down this path.
I think a lot of it is. I mean, I think when you have a family and you have, you know, in our case, a foundation, I mean, things have implications and things have a broader impact, so you have to be consider that and be respectful and aware of that, how it impacts other people. But because it's to the same point, I think that one of those reasons that all that is part of my life is because I've acted on instinct up to this point. And so you just gotta do it. If you believe in it, go for it.
Yeah.